want to talk about something that, quite honestly, is a little bit uncomfortable for me because it means sitting with your own darkness and pain and figuring out how to heal those parts of you. It means admitting that I'm vulnerable. I want to talk about showing up, about love, and about letting go of your perceptions of love in order to let more flow in. To truly love others unconditionally, even with their flaws, but mostly to love ourselves with our own flaws. The last couple of years have been difficult ones for many of us, and of course myself included. No doubt my health took a hit after dealing with breast cancer 2 years ago, and I'm still in the throes of it. Still dealing with all the side effects, all the so-called cures. Trying desperately to find my way back to me. Feeling frustrated and vulnerable in my own weakness. Being strong is all I know. I'm always in survival mode. And quite frankly, self-preservation can be very exhausting at times. While trying to navigate these challenges presented to me, and often during difficult times, we get to see not only what we're made of, but what others around us are made of too. And although I've come to learn there's really no right or wrong here, my expectations have often left me very disappointed. My own perceptions often flawed. Too often I try to see things through those rose-colored glasses, and the harsh reality is life is hard and it's not always pretty. But boy, do I love those glasses. I come to realize that not everyone knows what to do in difficult situations. Not everyone knows how to show up or are even capable of it. We can't expect others to be what we need them to be. When someone gets sick, or even when someone dies, there are those who step up and walk beside you, and those are those who walk away or even avoid you. If you were once healthy and fun to be around, some might not know what to do with this new person who is in pain and is struggling. The same when we're grieving. Family and friends don't always know what to do with this new sad you. How can they help us or love us through it when most of us don't even know how to love ourselves through it? If I can't figure out what I need, how could I possibly expect somebody else to know? And is it even fair of me to expect that they'll just know? Of course not. So go easy on them. Imagine showing up at a friend's house and the first thing they ask you is, "Did you bring me any socks?" And naturally you say no. And they respond, "Why not? I'm out of socks and you should have known that. I need socks." They needed socks and you didn't bring them any. How insensitive of you. But on the other hand, if they were really good friends and you asked them for socks, then more than likely they would have shown up with a bag full. I know it's a ridiculous example of an exaggeration of our expectations on just knowing what we need, but sometimes it's just how ridiculous our expectations are. So really the best thing you could do is have no expectations at all. And in that way, you're just grateful for whatever is offered. If they bring socks, how wonderful. And if they don't, that's okay too, because your needing socks isn't their responsibility. In the same way that your joy isn't on them either. Your socks and your joy are your responsibility. I know that sounds harsh and maybe lonely, but trust me, those who are meant to be there for you will be. Some of your friends will bring socks. In dealing with my health, I realized I'd become stuck and needed to be better at expressing my needs. And when I tried that, when I finally found my voice, it was out of character for me and unexpected. So much so in some cases actually backfired. I showed my weakness and it threw some people off who never saw me that way before. Especially when you're often the one that others turn to because of your strengths. I realize now that I probably should have been more direct in my approach, and instead of playing a victim, which is the role I'm even comfortable with, I should have just stated what I needed and how I hoped to be supported. Even then, some won't hear you. With some, I even felt attacked and defensive, and in turn, counterattacked. Realizing too late that they too were scared and in pain. And I sat with this for months, literally, tormenting myself every day. Wishing I had just continued to keep my mouth shut, eating my feelings, even though I know that was becoming very detrimental to my own health and not allowing me to heal or grow. Not everyone will support changes in you, And at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you, regardless of the cost. At the end of the day, I need to let go. Something I preach about all the time, but it's not always easy to do. I realized I was allowing someone else pull strings as if they were my puppet master and they alone were responsible for my well-being. And that's when I reminded myself that I, and I alone, am the captain of my ship. I alone have full control of what will and won't bother me today. I thought of all of the worst case scenarios, and for my own peace of mind, had to accept that what will be, hoping and praying for a favorable outcome, but then I put it in God's hands. And that's what I do. Whenever something becomes too much to bear, I put it in God's hands and just wait. Because I know that God always has my back. And then I realized if I start collecting and holding on to anger, holding on to hurt and pain and negativity, and my arms become so full as each one of those things were a basketball that I'm trying to juggle, then what happens when something good comes my way? I have no room left because I'm so busy holding on to all these imaginary basketballs of hurt and pain. If I don't drop the bad stuff, I can never catch the good stuff. I realized I don't need to hold on to those things. Just like everything else I've experienced, good and bad, eventually they're nothing more than a memory, and I can choose which ones to hold on to and which ones enrich my life. And I could also choose to let go of whatever isn't for my highest good. It really changes the way you see others and the glory of their flaws, and helps you to address some of your own. But in order to do that, there are 3 hard truths that I had to accept recently. Something that I read of all places on social media that just touched a nerve with me. In fact, when I first read them, I got angry. But then I realized I was angry because there was truth to them, and something I would have to find a way to accept for myself. The post was titled 3 Things That Everyone Needs to Come to Terms With. The first one being that no response is a response. If you ask for something and you don't get it, or you get no response when you reach out to someone, that silence means as much as an actual answer does. It could mean I don't care. It could mean they're incapable of understanding what your needs are. It could even mean that they're afraid and don't know how to respond. Either way, accept it for what it is. Don't make more out of it than need be. Perhaps they just need time to work through their own stuff. When I first got cancer, I remember asking someone who I expected would be there for me, but they weren't. And they said it was just too hard. They had lost someone dear to them to cancer and they couldn't deal with going through that again. And I replied to them that even if something is too hard for them, imagine how it is for the person going through it. And that sometimes, no matter how hard something is, you just have to show up. So no response is response, but don't always assume what it means. If you made the effort to communicate, then good on you. You can't force response, and you especially can't force the response that you're hoping for. Of course, you can question the silence, but in the long run, you probably won't like the answer if you even get one. Often a confrontation doesn't end the way we hope it will. If you're truly willing to accept the consequences, then fine. But if not, then let it go. If no response is response you continue to get, then sometimes we have to let them go too. But not every situation is the same, so you really have to sit with it and decide how much being ignored bothers them. It's not always your fault. Not everyone may be as open about their feelings as you are about yours. And not everyone is willing to validate your feelings. The second statement is, if they really wanted to, they would. That was a hard one for me. It made me question my worth. Why someone who loves you would show up for someone else, but not for you. Comparing your relationship to others' relationships never leads to anything happy or helpful. I can't help it if I don't hold the same value as someone else that I hold for them. And it is very possible to love someone more than they love you. You win. Questioning your worth will only bring you heartache. It's not that you're not important to them, it's just that they haven't figured out yet just how important you really are. Sadly, that doesn't happen sometimes until after we're gone. Doesn't mean you have no worth. If you are here, then you are necessary and a valuable part of existence. Not everyone will show up for you. Not everyone even knows what that looks like. And sometimes we just have to accept that not everyone is capable. But it's not all doom and gloom. And I also believe that angels do show up when you need them the most. If you feel alone, you're not alone. Just look around this room and on Zoom and all the loving support that the center offers. I support you, and I would bring you socks. I remember almost 18 years ago, on the day my mother passed away, I had a dear friend at the time who literally just showed up. She came to my home, washed the dishes, cleaned my house, fed the children, and was just present with me. I remember thinking later that that's what showing up looks like. She didn't say a word, she was just there. And it's rare to find that. If you have someone like that in your life, hold on to them. Most people feel uncomfortable in difficult situations, no matter how common or normal those situations may be. Death still scares a lot of people. They don't know how to talk to someone after a loss, often afraid of saying the wrong thing. They often say nothing. They choose not to show up. And if you have it in you, show up for someone else. It really makes a difference to other people that need to have someone there for them. And I don't mean to sound like a victim because I'm not sure I've done the same thing to others at some point in my life. I'm sure there were times when I didn't show up either when I should have, that perhaps I went off to cope with my own feelings in my own way, because that's just how I deal. I need to sit with my pain and figure out my healing plan so that I can move forward. And that's why it's so difficult for me now, and why I've lost my patience with myself. With my aches and pains and medications and little progress, it's just so frustrating. And I'm not depressed, I'm not sad. I don't even say, woe is me, because that's not who I am. But being the person that I am, it's very difficult living in this new state that I'm currently in. And it's not a place I plan on staying for long. I also recognize the importance of connecting with others, and I've put in more of an effort in doing so. I really hate when somebody says, you should really get together for lunch or dinner or some activity, whatever it is, one of these days. What is one of these days exactly? And especially when you have health scare, you wonder, how many more of one of these days do you have left? Now, if someone says to me, we really should get together, with phone in hand, I say, let's put it on our calendars. Otherwise, I know it'll never happen. Sometimes we have to put some effort into our relationships. We have to put it on a calendar the same way we schedule a doctor's appointment. And sometimes it's even more important for our well-being. And if you don't mean it, don't say it. It's just mean to disappoint somebody like that. And if somebody repeatedly cancels on you, just remind yourself, if they really wanted to, they would. And that's okay too. It's not about you, but rather perhaps their own inability to schedule or prioritize. Sometimes you have to practice the concept that people come first. People should be the priority. You have to make it a habit and make them a priority. Remember, at the end of the day, no one ever said, I wish I spent more time at work or cleaning my house. Most will reflect on wishing they had spent more time with family and friends. When my time does come, hopefully in many, many years from now, I don't want there to be any regrets. Nothing left unsaid for anyone to question my love for them. The last statement of the three things we need to come to terms with is, not everyone has the same heart as you. I don't know how many times I've asked myself, why would somebody do that? Why would they say that? Or I would never treat that person that way. And the bottom line is that not everyone thinks the way that you do. Not everyone has the same heart you do, and not everyone treats others as you would do. Some people are kinder and more compassionate than others, and if you happen to be one of them, it's hard for us to understand sometimes why other people aren't like that too. Whether experiences or challenges in life have led you to be the beautiful person that you are, It might be very different from somebody else's journey, and perhaps they just haven't gotten there yet. Maybe they never will. Holding yourself to a high standard doesn't mean you can hold others to the same standards. It doesn't make them mean, it just means they're not you. Don't try to figure it out and don't make it personal. I wish we could turn to each other more and celebrate each other and appreciate each other while we have the opportunity. Too often it takes losing someone to understand what it really is like not to have them in your life. So show up when you can. Make someone you love a priority. Forgive, make amends, and love each other unconditionally. Understand that everyone won't have your heart. They won't think like you do, and they won't act like you do. Forgive them their shortcomings and accept and value whatever it is they do have to offer. Learn to let go of expectations and see them beyond their flaws. Perhaps then you can embrace and forgive your own flaws. Most importantly, take time to learn to love yourself, because if you do, then you don't need to rely on on the outside. Whatever is offered, no matter how big or small, becomes such a gift. And it's a healthier state of mind when you can go within for fulfillment rather than looking for it externally. Be generous with your love. Toss it around like confetti. Know that it's okay to love everyone, even though it might not look the same for everyone. I love my children unconditionally and so much that it hurts sometimes. I love my husband deeply and know we have a bond that can't easily be broken. And when I look out at all of you, I can say that I love you too, which is my way of saying I see you, I acknowledge you, I appreciate you, and I'm so honored to be sharing this time and this physical experience with you all right here, right now. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.